Hello, welcome back. Today we are going to be working with a transition that you might have seen before in a more advanced class where you're moving through vinyasa and the teacher might ask you to jump back to a downward facing dog or a plank or something like that. And sometimes that transition is just thrown into the mix and you're probably like, what? Put my legs where? How do we even do that? So I'm gonna break that particular jump through transition down today, where we will get connected to our hip flexors, our core, and to enable us to really kind of feel how we can move through that particular transition with strength, and also to make those choices about your own body. Not that you don't do that already, but just so that you have a little bit more awareness and understanding of what that transition can be, and not just throwing it into the mix as a way to get from point A to point B. It's quite a complex transition, and I just want to put a little bit of a fine point on it today. So with that being said, it would be helpful to have a strap that has the ability to loop like this, or a really long belt or something where you can adjust the loop of it and make it smaller or bigger. So have that handy. And then also a couple of blocks will also be really useful today. And one thing that I really like, depending on where you're practicing, I have a hard floor and my mat, but my knees really don't like the hard floor. So I also have a blanket for my shins and for my knees. So that might be nice to have. Gather your things and meet me back on your mat. Please join me in whatever feels most comfortable for you. That could be Shavasana, it can be child's pose, whatever allows you to feel most grounded within your body today. I'm going to start personally in a child's pose. So take some time to settle in, taking a few deep grounding breaths, inviting yourself onto your mat today and into your space, and asking yourself, what is your inspiration for the reason why you stepped onto your mat today? Perhaps that inspiration can be the seed of your intention. And inform the way that you move on your mat. And after this practice, after you roll up your mat and move on to the next part of your day, how can you hold on to that intention? Gather that intention into your heart space. Take a deep breath in. Sigh the breath out. Wherever you are on your mat, slowly make your way into a tabletop. Aligning wrists somewhere underneath the shoulders, knees somewhere underneath the hips. Spread the fingers wide. Notice if your elbows are winging out to the sides. Draw them back in towards your knees so that the front of where the bendy part of your elbow is facing forward. Then check in with the rest of the body. So notice if you're dipping the belly down and kicking the tailbone up. Lengthen the tailbone in the crown of the head in opposite directions. Press into the floor. So instead of sinking down into the shoulders, press into the earth, find a little bit of softness into the elbows. With this nice long spine, nice little bit of drawing up through the navel. It's not a sucking in, mind you, right? It's just a light activation of the front of the body. Beginning to lean your weight into the right shin. Pick up your left knee and begin to draw very slow circles. In one direction, you decide how big or small these circles are. And at any point, changing the direction of these circles. Begin to wind down these movements. Take your left knee out to the side. Let me turn to face towards you so you can see what I'm doing here. Taking your knee out to the side, extend through the leg. Now, if this is like, nope, don't want to do this, you don't have to, but try carving some pulses up towards the sky, the blade edge of the foot. If you're like, no, I don't want to do that, you can keep the knee bent or just simply plant the foot down. But if you're here with me, we'll take 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and plant through the left foot. Keeping your left hand planted, send your right arm to the sky, reach up. Think about your right shoulder blade sliding towards the left shoulder blade. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, thread the right arm underneath, come down to your right shoulder, right temple. Lift the left arm to the sky. Left hand plants down, unwind your twist. Replant your right hand, keeping the left leg extended. Take a few cat and cows. This might feel different from regular tabletop cat and cow because our left leg is extended, but just notice the difference there and how that might limit your mobility through your spine. Not a big deal, just a noticing, just information, right? Pausing back in a neutral spine, slide your hips towards your right heel into an extended leg, child's pose. Once again, noticing, oh, this is different from a regular child's pose. Take a few moments here, deep breaths, breathing into the back body. Keep sliding your hands back to a seated figure 4. That might be off of your mat, and if that bothers you, you can always come back onto your mat. Just scoot yourself back onto your mat. Left leg is long, right leg is bent. Take a deep breath in, arms reach to the sky. Exhale, twist to the right. Plant your right hand down. Left hand is on your right knee. We're not pushing or pulling ourselves into this twist, but rather just using the left hand as a bit of grounding point for our body. Take another breath in, lengthen. And as you exhale, maybe find a little bit more depth within your twist. Check in with your left leg. Notice if it's just being lazy over there. Maybe find some activity. Turn your toes out towards the sky. Beautiful. On your next exhale, keep your left hand on your right knee. Come back through center with your torso. I know it might be tricky with your left arm still on your left hand still on your right knee, but keep it there. Left leg crosses over. Find a comfortable, easy seat. I know it's awkward. It's cool. Right hand crosses in front of the left arm. Find your left knee. You might even bring your knees in closer to make this more accessible. Take a breath in, find more length through the spine. As you exhale, begin to send the knees apart, round into the spine, drip your chin towards the chest. Breathe into the back of the heart space. Find this little tiny seed. Beautiful. Slowly unwind, untangle, roll out the wrists, and make your way back into the tabletop. Take whatever movement you need. That might even mean coming off of your wrists a little bit. I know that sometimes being in tabletop can put some pressure on your wrists, so we'll get into our wrists in a little bit further here, but when you're ready, meet me back in tabletop. Take your right knee out to the side and invite some movement here, moving super slow. Just taking some big circles. Send it in the opposite direction if you haven't already. Pause your knee out to the side. Take some pulses here. You can also increase that lever by extending the right leg long and slicing the edge of the right foot up towards the sky. You can be like, yep, nope, that's not for me. Come back to the bent knee variation. But if you're here with the extension or the bent knee, let's take 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and lower the right footprint down towards the floor. Keeping your right hand where it is, send your left arm to the sky. Little twist to the left. Deep breath in. On your exhale, thread the left arm through, come down to your left shoulder, left temple. Right arm reaches up. Hair all in front of my face. Right arm reaches. Sometimes I even like to dial my heart up even more, just to really wring out the body. Return your right hand down, unwind your twist, replant your left hand, keeping the right leg still extended. Let's take a few cat and cows. There's a weird extended leg cat and cows. Any movement here is fine, actually. So just exploring the mobility of the spine. Return back to neutral. Begin to slide your hips back towards your left heel. Walk your hands forward. Extended leg child's pose. Continue to slide your hips back and then to a seated figure 4. If you're off your mat, scoot back onto it. Right leg is long, left knee is bent. Take a breath in, arms reach. Exhale, twist to the left, right hand on the knee, left fingertips behind the back. Using your right hand, again, to just guide you into this twist. We're not pushing or pulling. In fact, think about this twist happening from the mid to the upper back. Left shoulder blade sliding towards the right shoulder blade. Right leg is active. All right, keeping your right hand glued to your left knee. Turn your torso back through center, crossing your right shin in front of the left. Left arm crosses in front. Find your right knee, might even squeeze it in a bit. Find this little tiny ball, this little seed shape. Take a breath in, lengthen. Exhale, begin to send the knees away from each other. Drip the chin down towards the chest, round into the back body. And this little tiny ball. Breathe in between the shoulder blades, mid back, low back. Slowly lift yourself up. Roll through the wrists, do what you need to do. We'll find a seated position with the feet wide and the knees bent. You decide how far your feet are or how close your feet are. You can kind of adjust and see. In any case, find your shins with your hands. That might determine where you place your feet. With those knees wide, take a deep breath in. Lift the heart forward, squeeze the shoulder blades together, send the back of the skull back. So again, we're exploring this kind of cat and cow spine, right? So retracting the shoulder blades, squeezing them together, lift the heart. As you exhale, reversing that motion. Round in the spine, tuck your chin towards the chest. Use your hands on your shins to help stabilize you so you don't rock and roll back, unless that's what you want to do. Inhale, lift the heart forward, squeeze the shoulder blades. Exhale, round into the spine. Now our shoulder blades slide wide apart. Once more, just like that. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, round. Beautiful. Come back to neutral. Now, find your sit bones here. You might feel kind of the flesh moving over the sit bones a little bit, so adjust that. Again, if you want to grab a blanket, you don't already have one for your sit bones, go ahead and move into that direction. Scoop your hands behind your knees and rock it back onto your sit bones. Find a little twinkling toes here so that you can find some balance. Scoop the low back in and up, lift the heart forward, long spine. Now your feet begin to hover. The front of our body, transverse abdominis, is starting to activate. Those are the muscles deep in the front of the body, right? So coming up, lifting up through the heart. Maybe the legs stay bent. You can always certainly bring your feet back to the floor if you'd like, or lift them up maybe to midpoint just to start it out. Release your hands and bring them into a Kali Mudra. So interlacing the fingers, releasing the 2 pointed fingers. Keep that low back scooping in and up, Navasana. Reach your toes long, lean it back. Woo, legs are shaking. And as you exhale, keep your big toes stuck together. Butterfly your knees wide apart, thread your heart through. Reach your Kali Mudra in between the knees. Nice. And let's find a little bit more of a flow. Send your legs long, lean it back. Exhale, thread the heart through, reach forward. Keep going. Lengthen back. Exhale, thread. Lengthen out. Exhale, thread. Now think about, as we move here, lengthen, pulling your knees in, using your hip flexors here. These are going to bring the knees in. Whoo, they're getting some work. Let's do one more, lengthen out, and thread it through. Release your feet down, keep your knees wide, and drip forward into a Baddha Konasana, forward fold. Maybe sway from side to side. Let the spine round. We had to use quite a bit of the front body to keep us lifted there in our Navasana, so it's nice to kind of do the inverse of that. Slowly make your way back up to the top. Gather your knees back in through center. Lift up through the heart. Scoop your hands behind the knees once again. Rock it back onto your sit bones. Lift up back into that Navasana. I know. Bring your hands together. Kali Mudra once again. Scoop low back in and up. Slide your shoulder blades down the back. Take a breath in. On your exhale, this time let's spin the knees to the left, keeping them together. Send your Kali Mudra to the right. Send your heart forward as well. Beautiful. Come back through center. Exhale, knees spin to the right. Kali Mudra to the left. Keep going. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Lengthen. Twist. Keep going. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Hip flexors are working. Whew, we'll take 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 through center. Big toes together, knees wide apart. Baddha Konasana. Forward fold. Rock from side to side. Awesome. Alrighty. Walk your hands back, gather your knees in. Let's get into our wrists a little bit, warm them up. Take your hands out in front of you like you're trying to give me a high five. And open up your fingers nice and wide, turning your fingers up and pressing your palms towards me. Bring your fingers, curl them into fists, and open them up. And close into a full fist. Open up, expand your fingers. Close and open. Let's move a little bit more quickly. Open and closed, trying to keep the extension of your wrists, which means that you are trying to achieve that 90 degrees with your wrists. Mine aren't there, absolutely not, but working in that direction, okay? So you're just firing up the forearm muscles, all those little tendons and and things that will help support the wrists. If we're asking ourselves to press, like a lot of arm balances, and just simply being in a downward facing dog sometimes can bring some tension into our wrists. So let's just open that up. Let's begin to take those flashlights up towards the sky. Keep moving a little bit more quickly. Yep, we're still going, we're still going. One hand might be moving more quickly than the other. Mine are certainly doing that. My right side, like, wee. And then here, with your arms overhead, see if you can bring your arms back behind you. So just pulsing them back. Woo. Keep going, keep going. Woo. Let's take 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Oh my goodness. Let your arms release, the blood flowing back into your forearms. Massage out your forearms a little bit. It's such a strange feeling. Okay, it's like so hard. It starts out real simple, like this is easy, and then after like a few, you're like, can we be done now? All right, bring the backs of your hands together, draw your elbows down, shoulders away from the ears, sit up tall. Begin to turn your fingertips towards your heart and away from your heart, just exploring the mobility of your wrists from left to right. Awesome. Release, go ahead and roll them out. Find your blocks and hold them like this on the short end. Bring them out in front of you and begin to pulse them down like you're trying to touch the thin skin side of your arm. We'll take 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then up. Ooh, this is hard, especially with cork blocks that are heavy. Like you're trying to touch the top, the thick skin side of your arms. We'll take 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring back to neutral. Let's take our wrists out to the side, so knuckles forward, and just angle your pinky finger towards your elbows. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release. Take any other movements that you'd like, maybe even interlacing the fingers, doing a little figure 8 with your wrists. And then this one's always tricky to me, where you try and reverse the motion. I don't think I'm doing it, but I'm trying. I think I'm just reverting back to the original direction I was going. And continue to warm up those wrists if you'd like to. Otherwise, we will jump into our demo. And let's gather our props for our next little bit. So as I mentioned before, we are working on that kind of hop through, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Actually, it starts here. So you might be like in a Navasana, like we just did, right? And then crossing up the ankles, and you hop through, or sometimes it's the opposite direction. So you're like bending into your knees, and you hop and send your legs through. And some people can kind of like float it through and not even allow their sit bones to come down to the floor. So there's a lot of things happening there in that. And I just want to break it down so that we kind of understand the dynamics behind that transition. Have your blocks nearby. And then again, it might be nice to have a blanket underneath you. All right. So let's move into a wide straddle. Again, I'll turn to face you. We are going to ask our hip flexors to be working here. Now, hip flexors lift the leg, right? As if we're walking upstairs, we're using our hip flexors to lift the knees up. So take a straddle, but not your widest straddle, and you'll understand why in a minute. Place your blocks on the lowest level. You might even try this without a block, just to kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. You might even place something small like your strap down initially, because I'll show you what we're going to do here. Turn to frame your right leg. Adjust your sit bones, sit up nice and tall. Have a pretty active leg here. So the toes can curl up, but they don't have to be super like pulling back towards your face. Just find something where it's active. The whole entire leg is active. And this is another instance where you'll kind of decide where your arms are going to go. It'll be easier to lift the leg if your hands are closer to yourself versus away from yourself. You can bring more challenge into this by sending your hands away or closer. Okay, let me stop talking and let's just start doing this. Okay, framing your right leg. Take a breath in, lift and lengthen, press into the floor with your hands. And activate your hip flexor, lift up your leg, tap it onto your object, that can be your strap or your block, and then lower it to the floor inside of your V shape. Lift up, tap, and to the outer side of your object. Now I'm going to come back to my block and try it with my block. If you're already on your block, awesome. You might even dial it up to a higher level. If you're like, this was easy, awesome, good for you. Otherwise, low level with your block or return back to your other object. Okay, same thing here. Sit up nice and tall, lift up, tap, and then tap on the inside. That's 1. And then we start again. Lift up, tap, 2, and keep going. 3, 4, and 5. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, if your quad or hip flexor kind of seized up there, then you can take your hands, your fists, and gently massage it out. All right, super fun, right? Let's turn to the other side. Left leg. You're like, your idea of fun is not my idea of fun. I know. But let's try it on this side. So again, you have the option to bring in a smaller object that's not as high, so you don't have to lift your leg as high. And again, playing around with this compression. So just thinking about if you were in more of a forward fold, that compression is more, right? So lifting the leg, you're going to really have to activate that hip flexor to bring it up versus here where it might be easier to do, okay? So find what works for you. Again, we'll frame our left leg with our hands, pressing maybe a long spine, deep breath in, and slowly lift up through your left leg, tap in the center and onto the middle. Lift up, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh my goodness, that was spicy. Okay, left side definitely cramps for me, so I'm going to just massage that out a little bit. All right, are we ready for both sides? Yes, we are. Awesome. I can hear you just being so excited where you are. Play around with your hands. Again, it will be easier. Hands behind. You can lean back and lift the legs, or more challenging with your hands forward. Try it out. Who knows? Maybe you're like, this is super easy. All right, so I'm going to keep my blocks where they are. I'm going to bring my hands somewhere in the middle, not quite far ahead or behind, but right here in the front. Pressing into your hands wherever you are. Find those hip flexors and we'll lift the legs together. Tap on the inside. That was 1. Tap. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh my gosh. Okay, yep, definitely cramping there. Why are we doing this? What does this have to do with that transition the jump through transition that I showed you? Well, again, our hip flexors are having to work to bring us into more of a compact position. And when we have our brain connected to those muscles in our hip flexors, those transitions can become, those complex transitions become a little bit, quote unquote, easier. Not, maybe more simple but not necessarily easy, right? Okay, so you're like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. All right, let's take our strap that A had recommended at the beginning of our practice. Bring your strap around you. We're gonna just kind of tie ourselves up a little bit. I know that sounds weird, but take your strap so that it's behind your thighs, not quite at your knees, behind your knees, but somewhere like right behind. And then make sure you have access to this buckle, okay? Take your strap and bring it up and over so that your strap, the top part of the strap, is right where your shoulder blades are, okay? Now, you want to bring those knees as close as you can in towards your chest. Be really careful with the strap when you tighten it. I have pinched myself before and it is not fun, trust me. Okay, so just adjust. We want a tight little ball. Again, adjusting so that the strap is just behind the knees and right at the shoulder blades. Knees are somewhat in towards the chest. And if somebody walks into your room, like, what in the world are you doing? And if you were like me and your blocks were still scattered all over the place, bring them in closer because they can be helpful here. Okay. Bring your blocks in. It might be nice to have them at the medium. I wouldn't recommend the highest just because we don't want them to flip. We want our wrists to be safe. So just be mindful. Okay, bringing your blocks towards your hips. You're in this little tiny ball. Pause if you're still getting into your little ball. Okay, if you're here with me joining, we're in this little tiny ball shape. Lean back onto your sit bones. Find that Navasana type situation. Lift your legs. They don't have to be super straight here. Now with our chest close to the knees, hands onto your blocks, lean it forward and lift up through your arms. What? Okay, so maybe your legs can kick out a little bit straighter here. Doesn't matter, your hips are lifted and you can kind of play around with this swing and then lower yourself down. Okay, with the strap, it helps us kind of bring our hip flexors. We've already activated our hip flexors. Thank you very much. Straddle lifts, right? But with the strap, it also helps bridge that gap between actually lifting up. You can certainly try this without the strap, and a lot of people can do it without the strap, but I just wanted to show you a way that we can use our props to kind of help make this L-sit is what it's called, a little bit more accessible. Okay, let's try that again. So hands come along the hips, using your blocks or whatever you want. Lift up, straighten through the legs. Awesome. Now let's play around with this transition. So cross at your ankles, tuck them in, see if you can keep them lifted, and then twinkle toe them back, and then come into a forward fold. Because we certainly can't come up to standing. We're still in the strap, so that would be challenging. Okay, let's reverse that. Come up onto your tippy toes. Use your hands, press the floor away. You can kind of swing it through and come to seated. Let's try that again. Lift up, cross at the ankles, send it back, forward fold. Lift up halfway, lift up onto your tippy toes, keep lifted through your hips, send your legs through, and lower down. One more just like that. Lift up, cross at your ankles, and forward fold. Lift up onto your tippy toes, send it through, and lower to seated. Okay, that was interesting. That was interesting. Take off your strap, however you want to do that. Take it off to the side. Okay, now you're probably like, well, okay, I don't know if I can do that without the strap. It's still there if you need it, but without the strap, we'll have a little bit more freedom with our movement. So let's try it without it. It's okay if you don't lift up just like we did before, but it's cool. Okay, pressing into your hands, lift up. And crossing at the ankles. I started to really cross at the ankles. Lift up and send it back, forward fold. Whew. And let's try that again. Lift up, press into the floor. Let yourself hang, swing through, straighten through the legs, and lower down. Let's try that one more time. Uncross your ankles, find your L sit. Think about your hip flexors lifting here rather than your chest towards your legs. Does that make sense? So activating your legs, your hip flexors to lift your legs versus using your back really to help carry this. All right, hands pressed down, lift up through your hips, lift your legs, use your hip flexors, maybe one or both legs lift, cross at your ankles, hug your knees in, and forward fold. Whew, okay, let's reverse that, come up high on your tippy toes, press into your blocks, cross at your ankles, swing it through, and lower your hips down. Okie dokies. That was fun. Let's add that into a little flow. All right, now that we have our full body pretty much warmed up from our wrists to our hip flexors and everywhere in between, let's make our way into a downward facing dog. Pedaling out through the heels, find some movement here. Lengthen your tailbone up towards the sky. Press the floor away with your hands. Begin to wind down this movement. Take a breath in, soften the knees, soften the elbows. As you exhale, send the right leg up, three-legged dog. Take a breath in. On your exhale, shift forward, shoulders over wrists. Bring your right knee towards your right tricep. Step your right foot outside of your right pinky, lizard lunge. Left hand down, right arm reaches to the sky, open twist. Keep your right knee hugging in towards your belly. Left hand remains planted. Thread your left leg through, come all the way to seated. Right knee is bent. Take your right hand back behind you, twisting over towards the right. This seems familiar. Right shoulder blade slides towards the left shoulder blade, and you lift a little bit higher through the crown of the head. Allow your right knee to tumble down, press through your right shin, circle with your left arm out, lift the hips high, stargazer pose. Exiting just as we entered, lower down through the hips. Unwind your twist, return back through center. Step your right foot over your left leg. Let's take a counter twist over to the left. Keep twisting towards the left, planting through your right foot. Twist, 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 all the way to face the back of your mat. Planting through your hands, lift up through your left leg. So we're almost in like a tiny little three-legged dog. Keep your left leg lifted. Lower your right shin down. Keeping the toes tucked. Sweep your left leg out to the side. Lift up into our gate pose setup. Left hand touches down, right arm reaches up and over, gate pose. Return back through center, counter gate. Right hand touches down, left arm reaches. The left leg is still extended out to the side, footprint planted down. Bring your left hand to the floor, circle sweep your hands towards the front of your mat. Take your left leg back behind you, sunbird. With your right toes still tucked under, press into your hands, press into your right foot, lift up, three-legged dog. Take a breath in. On your exhale, send your left knee towards your right tricep or elbow. Plant your right foot down, extend the left foot over towards the right, slide it away from self, peel your right arm open into our fallen triangle. Open up the Adjust your shirt. Reach up. Now, continuing to face towards the front of your mat, lower your sit bones down, wide straddle. Take a forward fold here. I'm not going to make you do any sort of hip flexor lifts of your leg, unless you want to, unless you're like, that's my jam. I mean, I suppose you totally could like lift your legs here if you wanted to. Otherwise, enjoy this forward fold. All right, now we're kind of at an angle off of our mat towards the left-hand corner, right? So lift up through center. Your right leg is somewhat forward. So let's bring that together. Sweep your left leg forward, rock it back into your sit bones, Navasana. Scoop the low back in and up. Lift your heart forward, slide your shoulder blades down the back. Remember our little transition here. Cross through your ankles, plant through your hands, tap into a little ball, and hop or step it back into our downward facing dog. And we'll take it towards the other side. Deep breath in, soften. Exhale, left leg lifts high. Inhale. Exhale, knee to left tricep. Shift forward. Left foot steps outside of your left pinky. Right hand remains planted. Peel the left arm to the sky. Open twist. Keeping your right hand planted, thread your right leg through, come to seated. Twisting over towards the left. You can use your right arm to hug in. Lift and lengthen through the crown of the head. Gaze wherever it's most comfortable for your neck. Continuing to move towards the left, tumble your left shin down. Circle sweep your right arm up. Stargazer. Lower the hips down. Return back to the front of your mat. Step your left foot over the right leg. Let's take a counter twist to the right. Planting through your right hand. Keep your left foot planted. Continue to twirl, twirl, twirl towards the back of your mat. Keeping your right leg lifted, a small three-legged dog. Keeping your left toes tucked and your right leg extended, lower your left knee down to the floor. Sweep your right leg out to the side, plant your right foot down. Spring off of your hands, gate pose over towards the right. Stay light through your right hand. Lift up, counter gate. Left hand plants, right arm reaches. Circle sweep your hands towards the back of your mat. Take your right leg back behind you into our sunbird. Now pressing through your hands, keep your left toes tucked, lift up into your three-legged dog. Deep breath in. Exhale, curl your right knee towards your left tricep, straighten through the right leg, curl your left heel down, press your foot away, express yourself into a fallen triangle. Lower your hips down and forward fold, wide-legged forward fold. Turn towards the front of your mat, Navasana. And let's thread that through a few more times, a little bit more quickly. If you want to do that transition, tucking the feet under, hop it back, right leg lifts. Exhale, knee to nose, stepping right foot outside of pinky, lizard lunge. Open twist, right arm reaches. Left leg threads through, twist to the right. Stargazer, right shin down, circle sweep the left arm up. Lower through the hips, return through front of your mat. Right foot steps over, counter twist to the left. Keep twisting towards the back of your mat. Right foot plants, left leg lifts. Small three-legged dog. Keep your right toes tucked, lower your right knee down. Send your left leg out to the side. Spring up, gate pose to the left. Counter gate pose to the right. Walk your hands back to the front of your mat. Sunbird, left leg lifts. Keeping your right toes tucked, straighten through the right leg. Three-legged dog, inhale. Exhale, knee to right tricep, straighten through the leg. Fallen triangle, press your right leg away. Lower through the hips, forward fold. Lift up, Navasana. And scoop it underneath, hopper step back, left leg lifts. Left knee, left tricep. Step outside into lizard lunge. Left arm reaches, open twist. Thread your right leg through, come to seated. Twisting to the left. Sit up tall. Tumble your left knee down, stargazer. Unwind. Return back to the front of your mat. Left foot steps over, counter twist to the right. Keep twisting towards the back of your mat, planting through your left foot. Small three-legged dog, right leg lifted. Lower the left knee down, sweep your right leg out to the side, plant your foot down. Spring up, gate pose to the right. Counter gate pose to the left. Walk your hands forward, sunbird, right leg extends. Lift up, three-legged dog, inhale. Exhale, knee to left, tricep, straighten through the leg, fallen triangle. Lower your sit bones down, forward fold. Lift up and turn to the front of your mat. Let's take a really gentle forward fold here. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, fold. You can thread that, loop that sequence through as many times as you'd like. Sometimes when you move a little bit more quickly through these flows, they become easier because our brain gets used to the patterns and our body just knows where it needs to go. And we can find that beautiful fluidity, that dance-like flow within our bodies. Make your way up to the top. Gently lower all the way onto the back. Hug your knees in. And lower your feet down towards the floor. Whew. Windshield wiper the knees from side to side. We did a lot of drawing in through the hip flexors, right? You know, you were there. So let's give, instead of bringing our hip flexors into that compressed state, let's lengthen them. So find your block. I should have told you to get a block earlier, but hopefully it's nearby. Bring it somewhere close to you with your knees bent, feet flat onto the floor, somewhere hip width distance apart. Pressing into your feet, lift up through your hips and slide that block underneath. It can be on the medium level or the lowest level. I have mine on the lowest level. Now just pause here for a moment. We're not going for a back bend here. We're just here for the support of the pelvis. Hug your right knee in. Now you're like, you just said we weren't going to compress. I know. This is for the left hip flexor. Okay, hug your right knee in. It does not have to be super like compressed here. Extend your left leg up to the sky. Flex your toes back towards your face. Press your heel up towards your ceiling. Now imagine that your toes are paintbrush and you're sliding your paintbrush down the wall. So keep your heel pressing away from self. Keep your left leg long, your right knee hugging in. And see, now we can extend through the top of the hip flexor. Keep pressing. Maybe your leg comes all the way down to the floor, or maybe it hovers. In any case, keep that left leg active. Keep pressing your right knee towards your right armpit. Beautiful. And release, lower your right foot down, rebend your left knee. Other side. Left knee hugs in. Right leg extends up towards the sky. Curl your toes back towards your face. Press your heel towards the ceiling. Keep pressing, pressing. Super active leg as you smear the right footprint down, down, down. Right leg is long. It may or may not touch the floor. In any case, it's okay if it doesn't. Keep reaching through that right leg, long through the front of the right hip flexor. Left knee continues to hug in. So think about your left knee and your right foot moving in opposite directions. Very cool. Go ahead and release. Left foot print down. Right knee comes in. Ooh, this is a nice place to be. If you want to hang out here, that's awesome. Another option here is to extend both legs long. So again, we're not going for a back bend necessarily, more for the lengthening of the hip flexors, which worked really hard for us today, including the front body too, right? We did a lot of core work with our Navasana, our boat pose, and that asked a lot of our transverse abdominis to contract, to bring the knees to work in conjunction with the hip flexors. So again, allowing for that spaciousness, working in the opposite direction. So this was awesome. It's a nice place to be. Now, you're welcome to stay as you are, or join me by rebending your knees, pressing your heels down, lifting up your hips, take your block off to the side. Slowly lower down the length of your spine. Take any final movements here. That might be some lifting up of, I call this sloth pose. Not because it's like lazy or anything like that, but it just reminds me of a sloth like hanging from a tree and just pretending that the gravity is kind of drawing down and feel weightless. Maybe turning through the ankles, the wrists in both directions. Take any final movements here that you'd like. Drip your feet down, drip your arms down. Find your favorite Shavasana. Invite stillness into your body, releasing all effort. Allow the breath to settle and seek out its own natural rhythm. And come into this place of peace. Begin to invite your awareness back into the body. Begin to invite your awareness back into your body. Welcome gentle movements to the fingers and toes. Rock the head from side to side. Begin to invite larger movements, Stretch arms overhead, reaching from the tips of the fingers to the ends of the toes. Yawn to release the jaw. Gather the knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a hug. Roll into one side. Do a little ball. Just pause here for a few moments to reconnect with your intention. Using that top arm to gently spiral yourself up to seated. A comfortable seat. Holding your hands at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Holding on to this feeling of tranquility as you move throughout the rest of your day with joy, serenity, and kindness. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another transition that you're interested in breaking down or just making more accessible. Let me know. I would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you very soon. Thank you.